I love DC. Whether it be DC or Marvel, since as long as I can remember, I've been a comic book fan. I grew up watching shows like Justice League and Teen Titans, playing games like Lego Batman and this one super underrated game called Justice League Heroes. These amazing pieces of media that my dad introduced me to as a kid made me fall in love with DC. So much so that every year on the last day of school he would take me to my local comic book store, who had this great deal to give out one free comic for every A we had on our report card. I remember running into the old unfinished basement that they had in the store and spent hours looking through dozens of bins filled with hundreds of issues of comics. I wasn't aware of any ongoing storylines in the comics or who was writing which comic. All I cared about was finding the comics that had a bunch of characters that I loved on the cover. I would get so excited to find ones with Batman, Robin, Superman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and as time went on I would get even more excited about smaller characters I didn't previously know about like Nightwing or Firestorm. As I started to get older, so did DC. Marvel had already launched their own cinematic universe and were breaking records and doing things that were never done before. DC no longer wanted to just make solo-contained movies and wanted to launch a cinematic universe of their own. And on June 14th, 2013, their universe was born. Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder, was met with mixed reviews from both critics and audiences alike. It wasn't the slam dunk they were looking for like Iron Man was for Marvel. I personally am a big fan of Man of Steel. It has a special place in my heart, but I can admit it wasn't the best way to start a shared DC universe. Fast forward to March 25th of 2016, and we were given the second installment of the DCEU. The hype and excitement surrounding this movie was absolutely insane. The movie came out and I was still pretty young, but I absolutely fell in love with it. I remember at least seeing it 4 times in the theaters. But after years of rewatching it and analyzing it, my opinions changed. And I think it did for a lot of people. It's pretty much impossible to talk about this movie without pissing somebody off, and I'ma talk about it. This film will probably go down as one of the most controversial movies, like, ever, and people still talk about it to this day. And keep in mind, when I say talk, I mean scream in each other's face and punch each other. Certain parts of this movie I love and it makes me want to just jump up in happiness, but certain parts I absolutely hate and make me want to rip all my hair out. But no matter if you love this film or hate this film, I think we can all come to the conclusion that it broke the DCEU and its fan base. It was just so goddamn frustrating as a fan seeing these big studios fuck up my favorite fictional characters so badly. Whether it be having Batman kill people, or Superman being treated as a god, or introducing the frickin' Justice League, my childhood heroes, through Batman's computer screen, it was just so messy. We were given Wonder Woman, the Justice League, Lex Luthor, Batman's nightmares, Doomsday, and the death of Superman. It was just way too much in only the second movie of this franchise. Fast forward about a year and we know how the rest goes. Justice League releases and it was underwhelming financially, critically, and for us fans. Due to the director change to Josh Whedon mid-production, it just felt like a weird Frankenstein of a movie that was trying to inject Marvel's lighter tone into this very dark franchise. It just all felt so wrong. Ben Affleck's solo Batman movie was cancelled and it looked like Henry Cavill was no longer playing Superman. Movies were still coming out, but they were either bad or just okay. That excitement and hopefulness that I felt before seeing Batman vs Superman was gone. All I felt now was anger at Warner Brothers. I was pissed that they couldn't figure out how to adapt my favorite characters like Marvel have been doing for so many years. And no, DC is nothing like Marvel, and it shouldn't be, but Marvel was organized, they had a plan, and most importantly, they understood their characters and what the fans wanted to see from them. There's now talks at DC to replace Batman and Superman with Batgirl and Supergirl, and just none of it made any sense anymore. But that excitement I felt as a kid came back to me on August 22nd, 2020 during DC's fandom event. The entire event just felt like a new spark for DC, and although their problems were nowhere near being gone, it actually gave us something to look forward to. It was so refreshing to see these amazing directors come to DC from other amazing and already established franchises. It was exactly what DC needed, finally putting their characters in the right hands of creators who had very unique visions, but still understood the core fundamentals of these beloved characters. Now cut to 2022, and DC has added some fantastic shows and movies to their catalog. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad came out and it was almost universally praised. That led to the release of Peacemaker, which was one of my favorite shows of 2022, and of course Matt Reeves' The Batman. Although this film isn't part of the DCEU as of right now, it reminded so many people that DC is a force to be reckoned with and can create some of the best not just superhero movies but best movies of all time. It is now November of 2022 and there are tons of exciting changes happening at DC. Black Adam just came out and although it is very flawed, I actually had an amazing time watching it and even went to see it a second time. But the obvious big news is that Henry Cavill is returning as Superman. Not long after the release of the movie, DC announced that Man of Steel 2 is happening, and Henry is set to return as Superman for multiple more projects. This is such a huge victory for us fans that have been waiting for years to not just have another Superman movie, but just for a confirmation that we even had a locked-in Superman actor in this universe. Although the return of Henry is the obvious thing for DC fans to be excited about, I do think there is something that is even more exciting. Warner Bros. Discovery has been pretty public in the last year about wanting to find a Kevin Feige-like figure to spearhead their cinematic universe. They wanted someone who not only understands the characters, but has had experience in this realm and is there to tell great stories, not push agendas and corporate needs. A couple of weeks ago, it was announced that James Gunn and Peter Safran are taking over as co-heads at DC. James Gunn will be handling the creative side of things while Safran handles the financial side. I cannot describe to you how happy this news made me when I first heard it. Not only was I of course happy for James Gunn because I grew up watching his films and loving them and I've always rooted for him, I was even happier for what this means for the DCEU. I think it was a brilliant move to not just have one person helming the entire franchise on their own. I think this duo has the potential to do what Kevin Feige did for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We have seen how creative James Gunn is and how versatile his storytelling abilities are with directing and writing. And Peter Safran was heavily involved in Aquaman, which is the DCEU's most financially successful film, and was also a major player in making the Conjuring universe come to life. I was already all in on this decision, but this quote by Gunn and Safran really set it in stone for me. We look forward to collaborating with the most talented writers, directors, and actors in the world to create an integrated, multi-layered universe that still allows for the individual expression of the artist involved. This statement shows exactly why they are the perfect guys for the job. They want to build a full-fledged cinematic universe that feels connected but still creates unique and artistic films in the process. This is where I think that if done right, DC has the chance to surpass the MCU. The MCU is incredible, but one of its biggest flaws is the lack of creative direction in its films. Almost every Marvel film besides James Gunn and Taika Waititi's feel very much the same. The color grading, the cinematography, the action choreography, the heavy reliance on CGI and green screens, a lot of it feels pumped out and uninspired. I still love most of these movies, they're great and they're fun to watch, but they feel very formulaic and safe. That sense of consistency has helped Marvel maintain a tone and style through their 4 phases, but if DC is able to build a connected universe while keeping each film unique and artistic, I think it could become something very special. We already have half of the equation. A good amount of the movies DC has made in the last decade have all had a distinct sense of style for better or for worse. Not all of them have been a hit or great, and some go too far in one direction, but if Gunn and Safran can find a way to balance building a connected universe while maintaining the artistic vision of the creator, we could see a new dawn for the DCEU. The CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery said that he wants to build a long-term universe that focuses on quality and is eyeing a reset that would set up a 10-year plan for the franchise. I don't know what he has in mind for a reset or how they could even pull that off, but I do think they need to clean up the DCEU before moving forward. We need to establish what movies are canon and which ones aren't. Who is this universe's Batman, and only keep it to one. I'm fine with having Ben Affleck be the DCU Batman and having Pattinson continue in the Matt Reeves universe, but I don't want Michael Keaton or someone running around in the same universe as Ben. Just keep it simple for now. Their main goal should be establishing their biggest characters and setting up a threat for the future. Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Green Arrow, the Teen Titans. There are so many incredible characters in the DC catalog who have incredible stories that have yet to be seen by so many people, and they deserve to. The biggest mistake DC made was rushing their universe. The fans are here to stay. We have loved these characters for far longer than the release of Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman. We all want to see them in films together, but we want to see a build-up, a slow burn of unique and creative films that release and introduce us to new characters with compelling stories that set up even bigger ones. And after all that is done, we can finally get to the Justice League movie that we have all been waiting so long to see. One with characters who have already been established and developed through their own solo films or series. I am praying that this future for DC can come to fruition, and I feel that Gunn and Safran have the talent and potential to make it happen. I feel like that same kid at the comic book store, enthralled by these fantastic and inspiring characters. I feel excited to be a DC fan, and so should you.